Hello, my name is Dylan McGehee. Thank you for allowing me the time to present my capstone project for savvy coders. How I got here is anything but straightforward. I started off by studying sport management at the University of Central Missouri. I even held a full-time position with the St. Louis Cardinals, my favorite team since I was a kid. When the pandemic happened, my job was one of many that did not survive job cuts. So I thought it was a great time to reset and look for my forever career. I have tried real estate, banking, and a couple other roles since then, and have had no luck with finding something that I'm passionate about. So in comes web development and the tech industry. I did tons of research and had several conversations with my family, and I believe this is it for me. I think working on a team towards a project or common goal while we care about each other and the growth that whether it be towards a project or in our personal careers, I think that's something I want to be a part of. So I'm really excited to get started. That brings me to the debut of my capstone project. It came about in a really simple way. One of my biggest passions and comforts is movies and watching movies with my fiance. We often find ourselves having issues finding a new movie, a new TV show to watch, and we often spend up to 30 minutes researching or scrolling streaming services aimlessly. So the problem my application hopes to solve is to cut down on that, I guess, wasted time trying to find a new movie to watch by giving the user, I would say, an unbiased source of data. So whatever they're looking for when they come to the site, as far as if they're wanting old scary movies that rate horribly or new rom-coms that rate very highly on other sites. Whatever the user is looking for, they can find as far as their movie search here, and they can find it fast and efficiently. So I'm really, really excited to walk you through my project for the first time. And this is the homepage. I'm going to start with during our first couple of weeks of our boot camp. We were introduced to Agile and a lot of Agile ceremonies. And one of my favorite things I got to do, especially early on, was be a part of these as product owner and developer. So it got me very familiar with the day-to-day routine that is commonly used in the industry. I really enjoyed getting to be product owner because at first we used a software called Jira, which is pretty common. And it overly confused me when I used it for the first time. But after being product owner for a few weeks, I got very, very comfortable with it as far as creating sprints, doing backlog items for the team, what we needed to accomplish, how we were all doing on that, and just kind of keeping tabs on that day to day. Helped me stay on task, but it was also really cool to see how that kept everyone informed on how they were doing. And this graph kind of shows over the duration of the boot camp, which was from June until August. At the start, we had green was for done, we had nothing done. The purple was to do, and then the blue was in progress. So over the course of the boot camp, we had a lot to do and we got a lot finished. In this graph, in a simple way, shows it quite well, I think. And then after that, I'm gonna walk through some of my planning for my project, which I really, this was also an enjoyable part. So I want to touch on my audience, and I figured, everyone in the world enjoys movies. So I think as long as they're not at a super young age, my site can be usable for anybody. So I like that about my site. It can incorporate all sorts of different users and can answer a lot of different questions or problems. And just a quick outline of my pages. My first page is my home page, but I call it my search page because that's why people come to the site. So I wanted that to be the focus, and that's why I wanted it to be the home page. My second page, just a quick about page about me and what my goal is for the site and some of my background. My third page would probably be the other biggest page besides the home page, which would be my feedback page. I think a site like this, feedback is essential. It's essential for all applications, but I think it's essential for mine because it needs to constantly evolve to serve the average user, and I think that's in the best way done by user feedback and incorporating that feedback as soon as possible. And then the last two pages I'm pretty flexible about. I picked editors picks in a forum page. The editors picks page would be just some of my favorite searches and maybe some of the users' favorite searches or movies they've watched recently. And the forum page, kind of like old school message boards, if you remember those. That's kind of what I imagine that page would be. And then really quick, I'm going to show the wireframes for each of those pages. So this would be page one. This was the goal. A lot of search parameters with like a home page, like either movie or slideshow playing, maybe about the site. And then my 5 different pages at the top. My about page, very simple. And then here's the idea I had for my feedback survey page. So some multiple choice and then some open-ended questions where people could type out answers and give more thorough reasoning. This is my editor's picks page. So I imagine just another maybe like video about or a scene from a movie that's playing that's new. And then maybe some information about some favorite searches or picks throughout the week. And then the idea I had for my forum page. So say like all fans of Star Wars meet here. So it would be like Star Wars and then the number of posts, views, etc. Related to that. So it'd be really easy to connect with other fans of other movies. If you wanted to get some opinions on a new movie that came out, this would be the place to be. I think that would be a lot of fun and an easy way to read up on opinions of other things. So back to my planning. I will really quickly touch on my mural, and I've never used this technology before, and it was a lot of fun to kind of brainstorm for the first time using this. So there's my logo, and then some just simple questions like what am I doing in my application, my audience, who am I targeting, and what needs is my application fulfilling, and then some just quick brainstorming points about what my pages will look like. So I really enjoyed using the mural there. And then really quickly, I want to touch on my user story. This was also a lot of fun to brainstorm because I thought my site was going to be simple, and then my brain got going and I knew it could go all sorts of different ways. So I imagine users coming to my homepage and then going one or two of two ways. They're either going to search right away because it's a homepage, so they're most likely to do that. But they also might go to my about page to see what my site is and what's the goal. And then from there, so the most common way would be search results. And if they didn't, if they found what they're looking for, they're going to look up a bit more about the movie and then probably watch it. And then if they like the movie, dislike the movie, they could go to the forum page and discuss further or read further about it, or give my page feedback like, we really liked it. We found a new movie to watch and it was great. This could be better, etc. They could also refine their search results if they didn't like what they found, if they didn't find anything, if they were super specific. And then also go to my feedback page if they didn't find what they're looking for. So I think there's a lot of different ways that a user can come to the site, and then all of a sudden they're all over the place using multiple pages for different reasons and giving me feedback on what their experience was. So I really enjoyed putting that together. I thought it was going to be super simple, and it turned out not really to be. Some strengths and weaknesses. I also enjoyed doing this because I really was passionate about this idea, and brainstorming some strengths and weaknesses about my original idea was really helpful. And then really quick, I do want to touch on, this is some of my motivation. I would say this is IMDb's advanced search site. And IMDb, if you're not familiar, is probably the go-to as far as a movie database or a movie site. This and Rotten Tomatoes are the two I always think of, and probably what most people think of. But I really liked how simple it was. And a lot of their search parameters I think are relevant. Some of them to me aren't. I want to tailor my application to the everyday user, maybe not the movie buff. And I feel like this is inching towards that, higher level of movie watcher. So I want it to be, accessible and usable for everybody, not just people who are really, really into movies. So from here, I'm going to move on to my project, and this is currently the home page. I'm pretty proud of how this eventually turned out. For a while, I had issues with my styling and some of my code when it came to the backend part of development, but I'm really happy with where it is right now. So with the 3 columns, I do need to organize everything a bit better, but you see the title, you can search right there. Not functional yet, so that's on my list of to-dos. And then year release, I have some categories for the year it was released. I have some categories for the streaming service and the genre. I hope to add to those parameters and make those functional too, but just wanted to give the user an idea of what to expect on the homepage. And I don't want to go too crazy. I do want to keep it somewhat simple, but I also want it to be very, very functional as far as the search, and I want users to be as specific as they want to be. So this is just an idea of what I'm looking for as far as the homepage, and I think it'll come together great. Then my about page, just a simple about message from me. My feedback page, it's off to a good start. I have it hooked up through FormSpree. I do want to include some more multiple choice and maybe 1 or 2 other form questions similar to this, but happy with how it turned out look-wise, as well as the original message where you can put your email in and all that good stuff. My forum page, I'm hoping to use Grid to really have this take off, but excited about the forum page. And then my picks page didn't really get to. And then my movies page is going to be, I think, my database, but we haven't gotten that hooked up as far as my second API. Currently, that's probably on my highest on my to-do list after the cohort is done, is hooking up a movie API. But my current API is the open weather. So you can see down here, the weather in St. Louis is clear and the current temperature is 66. And I do want to touch on that code and 1 or 2 other things in my code as well. There it is. Okay, so this is how the open weather map is being used from my root index.js. And I do have an API key to use the data from the open weather site, and there it is right there. And then you see the function to turn the temperature into Fahrenheit from Kelvin, and to input the data from the city, what the current temperature is, what it currently feels like. I'm getting all of that data via right here. And that was really, I remember the lesson, I believe it was week 7. At first, it was really confusing, but then doing it in our class example and then doing it again in our own Capstone project really helped me understand as far as how everything was working and how the data was being passed through everything. So beyond that, I also wanted to touch on, I just had it pulled up, my server folder. I'll also touch on this now. As basic as it is, when we were working through our capstone for the first time, I'd say the first 5 weeks went great. And then when we had to turn our class capstone into a single page application, that was the first big hurdle for me. And once I got over that hurdle, I felt a lot better about the rest of the boot camp. There was just a lot of different files, a lot of different folders, a lot of different, take this from your class example spot and put it into your capstone. That is where I ran into a lot of issues, but a lot of reading, a lot of help from TAs helped me organize everything and ensured I had everything correctly laid out. So something as simple as my file structure, and it took me a bit, but I fully understand why they're all, labeled as components, my views, how everything is being viewed on my pages, just simple stuff like that. It took me a bit, but once I saw that organization. It really, really helped me as far as layout and just knowing where to look for things. I got a lot better at that as the boot camp went on. And then the last code related thing I wanted to touch on, I had a lot of issues with connecting to my Mongo database and needed a lot of help on this, but we finally got it working. So this code right here, just with my connection, and when it's printing out, it successfully opened a connection to Mongo, and you can see that right here, that I am currently connected to Mongo. I might go a different direction with my movie API, and I have a couple of examples of some movies that are in my own database. So I might go this way if the movie API doesn't work out, or if I'm continuing to have issues with it. But this is another idea as far as just connecting some of my own data, and you can see Inception, Toy Story 3, just as a couple of examples. But really happy with getting that solved. And overall, I'm pretty happy with my projects. Hit a lot of hurdles, like I said, during week 6, week 7, overcame them, and now I have a few things I really want to work on as far as going forward after the cohort. So definitely functionality and hooking up a movie API. I feel like it'll really take off, and I'll be even more excited. But really proud of how it turned out, how it looks, and can't be thankful enough of Savvy Coders for their assistance and coaching me through the last 12 weeks. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it.